Welcome to Planet MicroCap. I'm your host, Robert Kraft, and joining me right now is Dom Kwong. He's the founder and CEO of Damon. It's a publicly traded company. The symbol is DMNID on the OTCID. Dom, thank you for joining me today. How are you doing?
I'm doing really well. Thanks for having me. Appreciate it.
Absolutely. It's great to have you. So, Damon recently presented at our conference in Las Vegas,
Yeah.
and this is actually our first time doing an interview together covering Damon. And, since that presentation, a whole heck of a lot has happened from the corporate side. There's a lot to get into and address here today. But for those that don't know the Damon story, can you start us off with that quick overview and history of the company, and then we'll go from there?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, Damon's origin story is about making motorcycling safer. I'm a motorcyclist myself. I'm not sure if you are, but my business partner, my former business partner that founded this company with me, we're both an avid motorcycle fans, and we wanted to make the world of motorcycling and personal mobility, quite frankly, safer for the riders today, tomorrow, and yesterday, because we're all riders, right? And so the journey to get there has manifested itself in basically enabling technology. So how can we take technologies that we find in other um, other everyday elements, being like automotive, like cars. So, for example, like we take the technology from a car, cameras, radar, and say, you know what, that makes a lot of sense on a motorcycle. So let's just go do that and add some secret sauce to it. And fast forward to today, we have that ethos of the company has not changed. We're still wanting to make the personal mobility world safer and smarter. It's just that we have expanded our scope from, say, just being known as a motorcycle company to becoming a personal mobility solutions and technology company, because that's really what it is. So I don't care if you're riding an e-scooter, an e-bike, a motorcycle, three-wheeler, whatever you need, right? To fulfill your everyday activities, whether you're commuting to school or work, whether you're using personal mobility for last mile last mile delivery, excuse me, or just enjoying your environment, having a great recreational ride. That's what we do.
Sounds good. All right. So, for those that, again, haven't been following the story, where are we currently at? We're still pre-commercial though, right?
That's
Just to be
correct.
clear. Okay.
Yeah.
So still pre-commercial. There's a lot there. So, I mean, was there a reason, look, I've known you didn't just present at our April event. I've known Damon previously. I mean, why sort of this recalibration in a sense of the way the company is being put out there, in forums like this and maybe others, why is it now beyond motorcycles and now it's, all personal use? And then also the launching of Damon IO, and
Yeah.
there's a lot of things that, I think anybody who's watching this that either knows or doesn't know the story, like, all right, not only is it called Damon, what is Damon and how does that relate to like riding anything? And secondly, motorcycles. Then we got this and we got that. Like, help me make sense of everything.
Yeah, no, it sounds like a lot. It absolutely is, but they are connected. I mean, look, um, as you said before, it's like when we presented at MicroCap, we had just announced, four new business verticals, and that's just reorganizing the business. It's like, how can we understand the functions of our company and also the product portfolio? So, like, you talked about Damon IO. Like, first of all, are we making motorcycles? Yes, we are, right? And that's the bottom line. So we announced earlier that we have a partnership with an Italian firm called Engines Engineering in Italy, that we're making the Hypersport Race, which is a track only vehicle. And the reason why we're making hardware is, quite frankly, to be able to show the world, our consumers and other would-be customers on the enterprise side, that technology and transportation can come together in a holistic way. And so, but then the third element to this, as part of the Venn diagram, is the data aspect. So, like, the market has changed. And so it's like you ask, like, why make this like revolutionary or evolutionary change to the company? We are adapting to a changing marketplace, quite frankly. And simply the world is looking at a very powerful like the super bikes, the 1,000 cc, 200 plus horsepower motorcycles. Yeah, no, they're looking at those and they're saying, yeah, you know what, they're cool, but it doesn't fit with my everyday life. And so the evolution of the company is to basically approach a broader market. And the interface to that broad market, especially to today's generation, is really, this is where Damon IO comes in, is the use of data. We generate data every day. Every time we go and jump on our bike, drive in our car, we are generating data. And it's not just behavioral data of how I perceive the world, but how do I use various products? How do I use a motorcycle? How do I use a car, et cetera, et cetera. And what we want to do at Damon with IO is to be able to add context to the data. Data by itself means nothing to anybody. If I just like Bobby, if I just spat out a bunch of like speed information to you, they're just numbers. But if I said, you know what, here's the context with the numbers. You want to know, how quickly you go from A to B and back to A, right? Through rush hour downtown somewhere. Okay, that's the context. Let me go and generate insight and information for you that will then lead to an action. What could that resulting action be? You know what? I need to have a much more efficient route. Or I need to have a route that maybe distance-wise is longer, but keeps me moving because I don't want to be stuck. Anyways, that's
This
that's kind of like the ethos behind, the data side of it and how it's floated up in the company's trajectory.
Understood. Okay, so I mean, is Data IO, are you positioning this to kind of work and be a platform on top of, let's say other as a white label for other personal mobility products out there,
Got
and
it.
as well as your own, of course, but
Yeah.
for others, and then, well, okay, if that's the case, then what I guess the real question is like why would they do that if they also maybe have some of their own internal controls and checks and data monitoring systems that they can use themselves? Like why use you guys?
Yeah, that's an excellent question. Um, so the way I would answer that question is to say that, currently all companies today with regards to data, they are looking at ways of how to gather the data, right? How do we add sensors to here and there? How do we collect information? But what I just said about adding context to it, what does the data actually mean? So yeah, I have a bunch of data, fantastic, right? So everyone does that. Tesla, Honda, what have you. They're all gathering the data, but the problem is that the data that they're gathering and how they're adding context is really in a very closed system. It's like it's related to the vehicle. But what I want to do is be able to relate it to you, the person, and your everyday activity, right? How does your usage of this vehicle in relationship to, say, your professional activity? Let's say you're a last mile delivery driver, right? That happens to use a motorcycle as that transportation mechanism. Damon IO potentially can give you understanding of how efficient you are with your route planning. So, it's not just like basic information about number of deliveries you made, but what is your average time per delivery? What is your average cost per delivery? How was your average take in delivery? How, like from a safety aspect, how many close calls did you make? Right? Because you're now rushing to try to get a higher volume of delivery or cost of or basically revenue, right? So um, that's what we're doing. And another thing too is like, hey, why would companies use our information? It's because they don't have access to it, quite frankly. Like, so let's just say we're talking to a tire company, right? Well, once a tire is made, once it leaves the factory floor, they have no information whatsoever, other than perhaps a recall information or warranty information that a customer wants because the tire blew prematurely. But since we have sensors on our bike that understands the everyday usage of that tire, that information has value. That gives a company, like a company, tire company X, understanding of the daily usage of not only that tire, but what is it mounted to? What vehicle is it mounted to? How is it being used, right? What are the loads that it goes through? What is the usage cycle? Is it always in warm weather, cold weather, dry, wet? Anyways, there's a lot more to be gleaned upon so that these companies can actually help develop better products and understand the product mix around the world that they should be pushing their product from. So instead of having like a review cycle that is maybe 1 to 3 years, if not longer, this could be much shorter.
Hmm.
The 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 information loop back could be months, weeks, days.
Interesting. Okay. So, I mean, so where are we at currently in the sales process? I know you put out this press release where it's really only been in the last, what, like, uh,
Yeah,
2 months, something like that. So,
that's right.
what's been the feedback thus far? How have the OEMs responded to it? I'm curious.
Yeah, we've had a number of conversations with some OEMs and some distribution partners, and no, they're fruitful. Meaning that they're interested in the discussion we're continuing to have those discussions. So without giving away too much, it's like I'm just happy that they're willing to talk about it because they find that what we're offering with IO is interesting indeed and not only with IO but also with our vehicles as well, because there is a tie-in between the two. How we can gather information, like I said before, about tire manufacturers and understanding how their tires works on an EV versus a traditional internal combustion engine car.
Very
So
good.
no, it's been going well.
Very good. All right. So, Dom, this is supposed to be one of our quick hitters, but, I had a couple extra follow-ups here. But, to close this out here, I want to better understand the future a little bit,
Yeah.
from what you can tell us, because there's a lot of, as my audience, growthiness, if we're being fair, with regard to Damon in terms of just executing this brand new Damon IO business
Yeah.
model now. The traditional business with the motorcycles and the personal mobility products. So you know where where do you want to see this company? Best of all possible worlds in 3 to 5 years. And beyond just the execution and just getting after it, and we're gonna, sell 1 million bikes, blah blah blah, all that good stuff. And every OEM is gonna pick up Damon now. Realistically, what do you think are gonna be some of the roadblocks or things that you're gonna need to overcome in order to get to, what you would feel is the promised land?
Yeah. So first of all, let me start with the promised land and then how we get
Okay.
there. Promised land is that I want Damon to be known. Basically, when someone says Damon, automatically um, they think about data that has meaning for their everyday activities, right? So it's like, hey, whether it manifests itself as an app and say, hey, you know what? The Damon IO app helps me do what I need to do in a much easier, convenient, and automated way, right? And we don't advertise safety, but it's always in the background. I call it underlined by safety. Everything we do has that underline of that safety factor, which it goes back to the ethos of the company. How we get there, frankly, Bobby, it's about credibility. As a company that's been around for a long time, that you know what, like any company, especially as a startup, you're selling hopes and dreams, right? And it's the idea and the vision of doing something more. We need to execute, like not just execute, we need to deliver on that, right? So that's where the credibility comes from. So, having like my team is working really hard. We are working hard on getting the first product out there into the hands of people and signing the first customer, which we're discussing right now. And yeah, seeing is believing. Again, as much as I like to talk, as most people know about me, absolutely. When they get a chance to see it, use it, ride it, do whatever they need, analyze it, and absorb, that's the big event for us to do that. So delivery helps with that credibility statement I just said.
Very good. All right. Well, Tom, with that, where can our audience go and find more information on Damon?
Damon.com, DAMON.com. Everything you need to know is right there.
Very
And
cool.
yeah, reach out anytime.
Sounds good. Well, Dom, thank you so much for joining me today. Really do appreciate it. Good luck, stay safe, and I look forward to our next update.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Bobby.
Thank you.